Okay, moving on to spark plugs. The spark plugs are going to be, the original ones were Autolite, the later ones are Motorcraft. Autolite was an AF32, you could see that here. The part number was a C9ZZ12405-A. I also just wanted to show, this is a cool little display piece I picked up a couple years ago. It was Autolite spark plug, and it shows it a cutaway view that they had. Now, related to that, the spark plug wires. I'm going to show pictures here of the crate motors, and this is a really unusual thing. The number 8 spark plug wire here, the boot on there, has a number 8 molded in it. You're never going to see that in a reproduction. It's a really interesting detail. I've seen it on other small block Ford spark plug wires. So it's one of those things, if you could find it, it's a great addition to a car. I don't have one here, but I do want to show those photos. And then the left and right spark plug wire banks themselves had engineering numbers as a set. So you had this and you had this. The passenger side would be a DOZF 12280-J. You could kind of see that tag right there. The driver's side would be a DOZF 12281-G. And those paper tags are typically a couple inches back from the distributor cap. It'd be on the number 1 or the number 4 on the passenger side and number 8 on the driver's side. That's typical. But they sell these paper tags, so if you can add it, I think it's a great little touch to do that, and really brings up the restoration. Okay, on to the final section of the Boss 302 engine detailing, and these are some of the parts, the last bit of parts that I want to go over. So we'll start with the lift hooks. The lift hooks, the Ford drawings show us exactly where they go. One on this side, on the passenger side, and then on the driver's side, it shows right there. And they're going to be painted a blue or an off blue color. The vacuum hoses themselves show that here. You have the green hose. So I kind of look at it this way. Green hose, front of the distributor, vacuum advance, the red hose on the back. It's going into the vacuum tee here. Black hose, just as regular black hose, no stripe, going from here to the canister. Then red hose on the bottom, green in the middle, yellow on the top. There is one additional, so on a shaker car, this would be capped off. On a non-shaker car, there's a blue hose that goes over here to the vacuum motor on the air cleaner assembly. And that's all the different colored hoses where they go. The smog hoses, these are interesting. So the smog hoses, I laid these on the ground. These are 2 original smog hoses, assembly line. They're different shapes between the upper and lower. It appears that Ford just serviced then the upper hose. So this is an NOS upper hose. And what I've done here is I added the engineering number on here, the Autolite engineering number. Same thing with this here. And part of the reasoning of that is these NOS hoses, like this is another NOS one, they come with a part number on there. And part numbers, Ford didn't put part numbers on parts, they put engineering numbers on there. So here you could see it on the tag. I want this to look as original as possible. So on an assembly line, you're going to see original hoses have engineering numbers just like everything else and not part numbers. So I just think that looks a little bit more correct. And you could see the clamps on there for the smog hoses, the orientation, typically 2 tower clamps, 1 tower clamp here, another tower clamp back here on the back of the smog pump. And then these should be a number 10. These are Wittek clamps, one here, and then another one back here. So that's the clamps. Moving on, the heat riser tube. So this is a heat riser tube, typically held in place with a number 34 Wittig clamp. That's what we have here. This is a number 34. These, I think most commonly were either galvanized or silver. I do see a lot of them now plated zinc dichromate. But I think the most important thing is you want to have the correct clamp on there. Moving on to the coil strap. So you have different coil straps. If you go on eBay or you look at a wrecking yard, you're going to have all these different coil straps. And you're going to think, well, what's the right one? Is it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one? This is the style as far as you see the cut here and you see the cuts here and you see this one's going that way, this one's going this way. Well, this makes the most sense because it was made this way, the way that matches in there to the intake. You want to have that so it doesn't interfere. So this is the correct cut. This is the correct style with that rail on there, and they're finished off with a phosphate finish on there. They're not painted. So this one, well, this one isn't a good comparison, but the one I have on here is. So that's what that would look like. Then it has the engine tag. I'll show the way that the tag is mounted is like this. So the drawings show it. So the drawing shows that the tag, you see the numbers are on there. It goes this way, and then behind the bracket for the coil, and then it's bent forward 90 degrees. So the end result is, like in this car here, you can see it when you look in there, just like that. That's what you want. I've seen them mount. I've seen these mounted all over the place, but that's where that goes, is back there, and the drawings verify that. Then there's two mounting brackets that are unique on here. So sticking with the coil, you have this coil bracket that attaches to the head. This goes on here. It'd be painted engine color. This was painted years ago. This is an original one. You know, another example of the wrong blue. That goes there. There's another bracket here. I'll show this without it being installed. And that is for the alternator and the dipstick tube. Dipstick tube is mounted here. Alternator and the bolt goes through here. It needs something to attach to. So without that, there's no attaching point. So you have to add that bracket on there. I believe these are reproduced. I don't know if I've seen these other ones reproduced, but that's what you need. The Smog Pump, might as well look at that. So the original Smog Pumps were not made by Ford. They were made by GM and supplied to Ford. This is a box. This is a Saginaw division. This is power steering pump. You sometimes see green blotch or whatever. This shows exactly what this looked like originally. It was a little bit of a green on there, probably part of the machining process. I'm not going to say that every single Smog Pump has that green on there, but I have this example, and I use this example to copy, so when I add a little bit of green, I just have a little bit in there that you can see. And then the relief valve will have different colors, which determine how much pressure it needs. Blue is what's typically used on the Smog Pumps that are on these Ford products, and then it'll look like that in there. The vacuum switch, well, the thermostat switch we can call it, that's here. There's an orientation from Ford. They specifically want it oriented this way, so it shouldn't be pointing this way or this way. It makes the most sense too, right? The vacuum source is coming from this direction. Everything is going this direction. So this wants to be clocked in that direction. Drawing shows that as well. So I've seen it in all different ways, but this is the way you want it. And then that does come in different versions. So the DO version, that's what we'll show here, is for 70. For this 70, Boss 302 would be correct. And then the finish on it. The finish would be, most of them are blasted, so you're going to see this. You're going to see this gray color like that. That's not correct. What you want is that. That's what they originally looked like, was that color. Pretty much like a zinc dichromate color. So try to mimic that if you can. I don't think these look very good when they're just blasted and put on there like that. These blue plugs, you see a lot of these. Sometimes painted. They're not supposed to be painted. This goes in the air cleaner assembly. And only if you have a California emissions car. There's a whole different emission system, and I have an article on that on the website that shows all the pieces. But anyway, this plug would go in here. You're going to see that on 90% of the cars. But when you have this, that attaches to this, which goes to the charcoal canister. This hose right here, that's unique for California emissions. There's a lot of different pieces on there for that. Then, what else? This is the vacuum port. This goes on the back. This one's just blasted, not plated, but you can see that on the back there. The oil filters. So there's two different styles. Oil filters. This is called a double crimp. This is a single crimp. This single crimp is what belongs on a 70. And this one's an original one that's dated. The way you would read that date code is July 21, 1970. That would be on there. So the first 3,000 miles, the engines came from Ford with blue oil filters. This one just happens to be blue because we painted it after the dyno, after we ran it into the dyno. But eventually, you know, we'll put a white oil filter on there. So that's our Boss 302. I know I covered a lot. I hope you can get something out of it. And I enjoy making the videos. I enjoy hearing from everybody, and I appreciate everything that I've been doing over the years and the people that I've met. So thanks everybody for listening.
My heart is beating and I'm under attack. Don't need a cure 'cause I don't want